Have you heard about Shani, Mattel's first attempt at creating a doll line exclusively comprised of black characters with Afrocentric features? In this video, we will be looking at the history of the Shani doll, also known as Maroni in Europe, and how the line attempted to reflect African American beauty and culture in the 1990s. But before we begin, I'd like to hear from you. If you have an idea for a future Have You Heard doll history video, please let me know in the comments below and make sure to subscribe. By the time Shani and her friends, Nichelle and Asher, were released in 1991, Mattel had been producing black fashion dolls for nearly 24 years. Mattel would introduce the first black dolls to the Barbie line in the late 1960s, first with the highly contentious colored Francie in 1967, followed by Christy in 1968, and Julia in 1969. Julia, in fact, was produced as a tie-in to the groundbreaking, eponymous TV series, which starred the late Diahann Carroll. Brad, the first African-American male doll in the Barbie line, would be introduced in 1970 as a boyfriend to the Christy doll. In the mid-1970s, Mattel would introduce another African-American doll couple, Cara and Curtis. They would continue to release more black dolls throughout the 70s and 80s, including the first black variants of Barbie and Ken, in 1980 and 1982, respectively. Common criticisms about these dolls were that they used head sculpts with Eurocentric facial features, had unrealistically slim bodies, and came with little to no variety in their hair texture. Knowing that there was a lack of fashion dolls that truly reflected black beauty and culture, black-owned toy companies, such as Shindana Toy Company and Olmec Toys, would take matters into their own hands. After selling black baby dolls in the late 1960s, Shindana would release Wanda, Career Girl, a 9-inch fashion doll, and later, Disco Wanda in a similar size to the Barbie doll. According to an issue of Doll E. Graham, the El Segundo-based Mattel provided equipment and assistance to Shindana Toy Company, with no strings attached, as an expression of the company's commitment to its social responsibility in the Los Angeles community, after the 1965 Watts riots. Olmec Toys was founded in 1985 by Yla Eason, with the goal of creating what Eason called ethnically correct toys of color that had sculpted facial features to accurately represent each figure's ethnicity. The company would release the Naomi doll in 1988, which had an emphasis on hairplay. Naomi dolls featured a variety of hairstyles that were popular in the black community, such as microbraids. The doll would be renamed as Alice in the following year, and would eventually be renamed as Imani. Mattel sensed this growing need for more ethnically correct dolls of color, particularly black dolls, and would seek out researchers to help them refine their products. They would work with Dr. Darlene Powell Hobson and Dr. Derek Hobson, who had conducted a study entitled Implications of Doll Color Preferences Among Black Preschool Children and White Preschool Children. The study found that black children mostly chose white dolls over black dolls and perceived black dolls to be ugly and bad. This finding was similar to the results of a similar doll test conducted in 1950. With this research and their influence in the toy market, Mattel planned to make a line of African American fashion dolls that would serve as positive role models to children and would feature ethnically accurate facial features. Much like what Shindana Toy Company and Olmec Toys strived to achieve with their products, Mattel hoped that this range of dolls would instill self-confidence in young children of color. Dr. Powell Hobson confirmed in an interview with the New York Times that Mattel wanted guidance from researchers on how to reinforce Shani in a positive way to children, which she believed showed a great deal of respect to the black community. The line would center around the character Shani, whose name means marvelous in Swahili. In European markets, however, the doll would be known as Maroni. Shani would be accompanied by her two friends, Asher and Nichelle. Each doll would have a new, unique face sculpt marked with the year 1990, and different skin tones to reflect the diversity found within the black community. The dolls would be the same height as the Barbie doll, but they would be advertised as having more shapelier bodies. In fact, a new body mold, marked with the year 1991, would be introduced for the Shani line and would eventually be used for Barbie too. This body had a thinner torso and straight arms with dainty hands to the sides. The doll's packaging, however, noted that Barbie fashions would still fit these dolls. Early product descriptions of the dolls would refer to Shani as mahogany, Asher as cinnamon, and Nichelle as cocoa, based on their skin tones. Legendary Barbie designer, Kitty Black Perkins, who also designed the first black Barbie doll in 1980, would serve as the principal designer for the Shani line. Black Perkins would note the importance of the dolls' faces, body sculpts, and hair when creating authentic African American characters.
Hairstyle was very important. They wanted a doll that reflected the black hair. And they also wanted a shapelier body, which is what we put on Shani.
For the Shani dolls release, Mattel would run an extensive marketing campaign across various platforms. This included TV ads, magazine articles, and live events, such as Ebony Magazine's fashion fair shows. The Hobsons encouraged Mattel to show girls of different races playing with Shani in marketing materials to enforce that black dolls can have a universal appeal.
Shani is here. Shani, you walk, you smile.
The first wave of Shani dolls featured Shani, Nichelle, and Asher dressed in fancy gowns that could be converted into different outfits. Shani's dress could be converted into a bathing suit and cover-up, Asher's as a mini dress and jacket, and Nichelle's as a ballet outfit. The dolls also included a hair pick and a multi-purpose accessory that could function as a hair jewel, belt, or necklace for the doll. Each doll came in a box that was perfect for display, and featured the tagline, "A world of beauty, fun, and success." These dolls retailed for around $19.99. Mattel would also release a set of fashions for Shani, Nichelle and Asher, where each outfit could be transformed to create two looks. The Shani doll and her friends were marketed as fashion models, much like the Barbie doll initially was. In an interview with the Orlando Sentinel about the brand's future, Powell Hobson hoped that the dolls would eventually take on different occupations. She remarked that, when Shani earns her MBA, she'll go out into the world and have a new career. The Shani dolls recorded strong initial sales, but also had their fair share of criticism. Much like the Barbie doll, Shani particularly received criticism for having unrealistic body proportions. Dr. Nicole C.J. Scott, then Director of Testing and Counseling in Howard University's Psychology Department, said that the Shani doll is sending the message that if young girls don't look a certain way they won't be accepted. The Shani dolls were noted for having bodies that were reflective of a fantasy white woman's. Critics believed that the Shani doll was just a new attempt to promote Barbie's near-impossible physical ideal among black consumers. Deborah Mitchell, Mattel's product manager at the time, said that the main criticism they received about the Shani doll's ethnic authenticity was about the doll's long and somewhat straight hair, which she stated that Mattel does not plan on changing. She would note that the number one thing little girls like to do with dolls, according to Mattel's research, is to comb and style their long hair. Those who appreciated the Shani doll, on the other hand, were happy to see that toymakers, like Mattel, were trying to cater to children of color. Janie Victoria Ward, who was a Rockefeller Fellow at the University of Pennsylvania's Center for the Study of Black Literature and Culture, noted the importance of having black dolls like Shani, as dolls could help young children with developing a sense of racial identity. In 1992, Mattel would release Jamal, a boyfriend for the Shani doll. Jamal, much like the female dolls, had a brand new face sculpt. The first edition Jamal doll had a mustache, but would be clean-shaven in subsequent releases. Jamal's yellow tuxedo could be transformed into a casual outfit. In addition to a boyfriend, Mattel would give Shani a brand new car. This Corvette was a gold recoloring of the Barbie Corvette from the 1980s.
I love all your colors.
Mattel would release the Beach Dazzle Shani, Nichelle, and Asha dolls. Each doll would come in a bikini with golden accents. A Sears exclusive Beach Dazzle Shani doll with 2 outfit sets would also be released. To expand Shani and her friends' wardrobes, the sizzling style fashion packs would be released. Unlike the previous fashion packs, these outfits would not have a 2-in-1 transformation gimmick. Many of the fashion pieces included flashy golden fabrics. Accordingly, each box would have the caption, "Shani style is glamour and gold." Another beach-themed Shani line would be released, called Beach Streak. The Beach Streak line featured Shani, Nichelle, Asha, and a clean-shaven Jamal in shimmery one-piece swimsuits. The girls would have copper-colored streaks in their hair to give off a Sun Street look. These dolls would notably feature a new waist joint that minimized the doll's thigh gap. In 1993, Mattel would release the Soul Train line of Shani dolls in collaboration with the iconic TV show of the same name. Soul Train was a music show that ran from 1971 to 2006, which predominantly showcased African American artists and often discussed historical figures within the community. Accordingly, the line would combine modern dance fashions with traditional African textiles. Shani, Asha, Nichelle, and Jamal would each wear a kente print kofia hat and colorful outfits, which the box described as fresh hip-hop fashions. Jamal and Nichelle's clothes particularly would incorporate these kente prints, as well. The Soul Train line would be the last wave in the Shani line of dolls. While no formal reason was given for the line's cancellation, many speculate that it was due to low sales. The Shani doll would cross over into the Barbie brand. Shani would be included in the Sun Jewel Barbie line, in a similar orange-colored bikini as the Beach Dazzle Shani doll. The doll would also be included in the Jewel and Glitter line of Barbie dolls. Although the Shani doll line came to an end by 1993, Mattel would make another attempt to create an African American doll line. In 1994, they would launch the Asha, African American Collection line of dolls. While Asha was coincidentally the same name as Shani's friend, Mattel would also note on the packaging that the name means life in Swahili. There were 3 editions of the doll, released from 1994 to 1995. All 3 dolls in this collection would use the Shani face sculpt. Each doll would wear dresses and headpieces inspired by African textiles. For instance, the first and second edition dolls would be dressed in kente prints from West Africa. The doll's box would explain that kente fabrics were often associated with royalty, but have become a cultural symbol for African Americans. Similar to its predecessor Shani, who had gold motifs throughout its run, the Asha dolls would have gold-colored jewelry. Gold has great historical significance within Africa, as it was used for minting currencies and adorning luxury objects such as jewelry, textiles, and religious objects. Despite the end of the Shani line, the Shani, Nichelle, and Asha head sculpts are still used in the Barbie brand to this day. Barbie's friend Christy, in fact, would use each of these sculpts throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, though the Asha sculpt was used most frequently. Jamal's head sculpt would be used for male dolls, such as Barbie and Ken's friend, Steven. Elizabeth Chin noted in the June 1999 issue of American Anthropologist that with the introduction of Shani and Friends, Mattel themselves recognized the unbearable whiteness of Barbie in an increasingly diverse world. Though the concept of ethnically correct black dolls was nothing new by the time the Shani line was released, Mattel hoped that with their influence over the fashion doll market that they could create a product that was a positive and authentic reflection of African American culture. Although the line was criticized for its inaccurate representations of black body types and hair, an issue that would be somewhat rectified more than 2 decades later with the Barbie Fashionistas line, the line introduced 3 face sculpts with Afrocentric features that are still used today in the Barbie brand. Mattel would make another line of black dolls in 2009, with the release of So In Style. Often considered a spiritual successor to the Shani line, So In Style initially featured a core group of 3 female African American characters, who each had a different skin tone. The line, much like Shani, would partner with prominent black-owned brands and also cross over into the Barbie brand. Through its efforts in achieving ethnic correctness, the Shani line still has a lasting impact over the Barbie brand. While Mattel had been making black fashion dolls since the late 1960s, the Shani line was a significant step towards authentically representing the black community in the toy market.